So guys, I believe this is going to be the most raw truth video you ever seen in 2025, because this man came here, exposed every single hidden truth, and also exposed how the next election is going to be rigged by Tinubu, Wike, and Akpabio. And that's gospel truth. No matter how we fight or deny it, next election is going to be rigged. Just take a listen and hear this wonderful exposure from this wonderful person, how he exposed even how bad the former INEC chairman was, and how the new one is still going to rig the next election for the person that put him in office. Just take a listen and get your views in the comment section.
The outgone INEC chairman is living shamefully. He left the office shamefully. Why I said so is because he has no clear legacy of conducting any credible election. In the past 10 years he has been in office, there have been allegations of fraud against him, both by national and international communities alike. And one thing every person that comes to office tries to achieve is to have a lasting good legacy. The legacy that the past INEC chairman, who just left office some days ago, is having is one that is not proud. Okay, it's not one that someone will come out and be proud of, because there have been series of allegations of fraud. In fact, as it is, his successors, his children, his grandchildren would call him in the future, that is if he lives, very, very long, and ask him, Dad, what happened between 2015 and 2025? Your office, which you held, has no good record at all. Everything that came out from you as an umpire were all tainted with allegations of biasness, were all tainted with allegations of irregularity. And the truth is this: if it was in a working country, of course it would have been investigated. But because we're in a country where if you are the one that is favored and you eventually come into power, you would instruct the institutions that is supposed to carry out due diligence in investigating all these allegations against you, and tell them, no, just leave this person is off the book. So as it is, he has left shamefully, because ordinarily Nigerians were supposed to celebrate him, Nigerians were supposed to applaud him. Just look at the 2015 general election. When Jega left office, people were happy with him. You know why? Because in 2015, the will of the people was reflected in the election result that was announced, even though afterwards some persons started regretting their choice. However, it was actually the will of the people. So what we are saying is very simple. When there have been allegations like this against a person holding one of the most sensitive office in the country, and all these allegations, not even one report of investigation was dished out, meaning that there was no investigation whatsoever, there was no form of due diligence in checkmating his activities before the election, during the election, and even after the election. So at the end of the day, he has left office. Of course, he cannot stay more than the constitutional period. So it's not as if he did anybody a favor in leaving the office. He couldn't actually stay beyond the time he has stayed. So yes, it's not a good legacy, it's not a good record. And honestly speaking, I would prefer to be remembered for being the person who gave Nigerians that credibility, that vote of confidence in relying in the democratic process, rather than being a person who will be remembered as a sellout. The truth is this: in Abia State in 2023, the INEC personnel who was heading the elections in Abia State is a woman, one professor. The woman has made a name for herself, her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren. Perpetually, they will be remembered in time and in history as an impeccable character. The woman came out clearly to accuse the sitting government of trying to oppress the real election result, calling from Abuja. She made it clearly on TV. Different reporters were there. Nobody could come out and sue that woman for lying. You know why? Because when you want to sue someone for defamation, and you know that that defamation is not even a defamation because there's justification, then you have even lost your credibility in the first place to challenge that statement. And that was why I applauded that woman. I don't know her. And just to make this clear, I am not a member or a card-carrying member of any political party. My views on today's episodes and today's session is purely unbiased. I have no affiliation whatsoever to any politician, any political party, or any serving member of the cabinet of the president or even the past. My views here today will be purely meritorious because I am going to be speaking on fact and law.
Okay, how would you assess the new one or your qualities of the new INEC chairman whom the president just announced? That's Professor Josh Amupitan.
This procedure in law where the president is empowered to, appoint or, let's say, nominate the person to sit on that seat. Honestly speaking, I, for one, I've always seen that as a very, very, very big misdirection in our constitutional law, because it's extremely wrong to leave that power, to the president, especially when it's a president that is allowed to rerun, as in minimum, at least maximum of 2 tenure. If we were running a 1 tenureship system, then I would have said, well, he could just nominate after all, even though he might have interest, which of course other countries alike also have similar provisions in their own constitutional law. But however, our own here is grossly abused because, okay, you have talked about the fact that he has been nominated now. However, the National Assembly has a work to do. They must screen him and they must confirm him, otherwise they will reject him and the president will have to renominate another person. But we and you know that in the country we are in today, the entire National Assembly has failed woefully. The 360 House of Representative members sitting in the green chambers, the 109 members sitting, Senate members sitting in the red chambers, have combined failed woefully in their principal and primary responsibility of check and balance. They have, in fact, this is the worst in the entire history of the country, 65 years. The entire history of our independence, this is the worst legislative house that we have ever had. Honestly speaking, it has never gotten to this stage that even the president is confident that if he wants a 3rd term, regardless of what the constitution provides, they can amend the constitution in less than a day. Something that has never been done. This National Assembly will give us, in fact, if it's possible, this National Assembly will turn a man to a woman and turn a woman to a man. What has never been seen before. Honestly speaking, all the lawmakers in the National Assembly, why I said all, I know that there are some lawmakers that have been suppressed. However, it is a collective thing. It's either you are all good or you are all bad. I understand and I recognize that some National Assembly members, some House of Rep members are outspoken, are rugged, and are not influenced. However, their voice are not being heard. I also recognize that some senators have also tried their best to, speak up. However, it is very crucial to note and to state that the moment the National Assembly starts getting it right, no one cares about those that are not doing the right thing. It will be a collective assessment. So this assessment is a collective one because as we speak, the president is, just, flowing without any form of interruption. The president is flowing with absolute power. This one that they are talking about, the INEC chairman will be screened, blah, blah, blah. Just forget about it. If the INEC chairman is screened and is not accepted, then just know that it was the president that had already informed them that I will nominate this guy, but don't accept him. Yes, I am speaking on this because the National Assembly, with the antecedents that we have seen so far, has shown us that it is whatever the president wants. In fact, the Senate president has even time again, displayed on the floor that the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is the friend of the National Assembly, and that ought not to be. The budget of 2023, supplementary budget of 2023, you can see how it was passed. The budget of 2024, the budget of 2025, I followed them up one after the other to see if there will be heated debates before this budget can come in. My brother, it is very appalling that these budgets were passed in very, very short time. Even the ministerial appointments that were done, we all know, because one of the persons who was not finally screened is currently not longer in the party. I don't want to mention his name. He has also come out to say that he knows that Mr. President just nominated him, but he didn't want him to be in his cabinet. It was just, of course, to show that, oh, Nigerians will protest against you, no worry. When the president against you, that we shouldn't appoint you as a minister. We're going to, everything is RNG. And Mr. President is a very smart president. He knows how to calculate ahead of everybody. That's the truth. He calculates so smartly that even me, myself, I feel like he should open a school, a political school, to actually teach political science, to a lot of persons. Because he knows everything is strategic. He's a very strategic politician. That is why when the president is saying left, I am taking it with a pinch of salt, because I'm wondering, this left that Mr. President is talking about, are you really sure that we are going to go left? Because he has deceived us. And as a grandfather, because for me he's like a grandfather, as a grandfather, I feel so bad that a person who I see, or who we should see as not just an elder statesman, but a grandfather that we should be looking up to, who we should all respect in Nigeria, has come out in different occasions and has lied to us, has even chewed his own words. In 2012, I will never forget, in Lagos, we shut down this country when Goodluck Ebele Jonathan increased, removed the subsidy he now made it from 65 naira to 135 naira. I could remember vividly that the current president was the person leading the entire protest in Lagos, and even in some other, southwestern states. And we all rallied behind him. I was in Lagos then. We rallied behind President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we chanted that this is daylight fraud. In fact, it was even as bad as we were instigating other people to come out and stop anybody that we see going to work. The whole road was shut down and blocked. The president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as at then, he felt it. Now, it is now the same person who is coming out to tell us that no, this is actually fraud. The subsidy that you were fighting for, you are now saying now that it is fraud. So the table has changed. You are no longer sitting, under the table. You are now sitting on the table, and you feel that you want to change, your perception on things. That is what we, the right-thinking members of the society, is calling out Mr. President for. That you have spoken with two mouths, and as an elder who is like a grandfather, you have lied to us. In fact, the National Assembly also failed in not carrying out their constitutional duty under Section 143 of the Constitution. Because under Section 143 of the Constitution, the National Assembly ought to have commenced removal proceedings against Mr. President in 2023. This is because the President came on board May 29th, 2023, and immediately announced that the fuel subsidy will be removed. Don't forget that a law has already been passed, and it's called what? It's called the 2023 budget. That the fuel subsidy was going to run between January to June, 30th of June. Now, the money has already been what? Has already been allocated. And if a budget has been passed, it becomes law. And if a finance bill has already been enforced, the president or the governor of a state cannot deviate from the provisions of that money bill. That money bill that's now going to be a budget must be followed stricto sensus. Mr. President deviated from it. The money between 30th of May to 30th of June, those monies, we don't know what Mr. President used them for. And under the 1999 Constitution, that is termed as gross misconduct. Now, the National Assembly, who ought to look at this rape on the Constitution, because it was a rape. Mr. President had raped our Constitution and had even given the National Assembly a dirty slap. by telling them that your law is nothing compared to my power as an executive arm of government. And truly, truly, he waived whatsoever that would have been done to him, and nobody even spoke about it. Everybody just, started suffering and smiling. And that is what we are still doing in this country today. Because the truth is this: Mr. President lied in Imo State when he said that the worst is over. Who said the worst is over? The worst is not over. In fact, as we're speaking now, the rate of crime is increasing even here in FCT Abuja. You know why? Because there's hunger in the land. A lot of persons cannot even afford to buy just a cup of rice. A lot of persons cannot even fuel gas, talk less of even having cylinder to buy. Just an ordinary cylinder, 3 kg cylinder now is nothing less than 20-something thousand naira.
Back to the National Assembly. The APC just needs a seat to have a 2/3 majority in the Senate. Should Nigerians be worried?
We should be very, very worried about that. Looking at our democratic system, we copied a lot of things from the United States of America. We copied a lot of things from them. And looking at them, using them as a case study, no matter how bad it is that a political party is dominating the house, you would see people with conscience, good conscience there, that will speak out even against their own party, to show you that it is not about the party, it is about governance, it's about the people. However, in Nigeria, that is not the case. In Nigeria, it is like cultism. The moment we are in one particular court or one particular party, you have to just follow the set down rules. Whatever we discuss in the midnight, whether it is in line with your conscience or not, you have to just follow it in the next day when we meet at chambers. And now, that is why I said that our democracy is under fire. Honestly speaking, our democracy is really under fire. It is very, very appalling that persons will come out and identify themselves as politicians in Nigeria. Nigerians don't believe that all these persons who are being sponsored from their local government to go and represent them, either at the State House of Assembly or at the National Assembly, be it the Senate or the House of Representatives, can even do the needful. That is because they have even lost confidence in those people that started from a very humble background. You can imagine a lot of persons who were just like me years back, very outspoken lawyers, very vibrant lawyers. Today they are currently, licking their hands in the stew that the government is having them to eat, and they are all part of the system. That is even one of the reasons why the Cybercrime Act of 2024 should be kicked against, because they have used that medium to try to guide our mouths so that we don't, express ourselves and we don't even speak truth to power.
Okay, let's go to the Cybercrime Act. Lately, the government, through the police, through the DSS, they've been using the Cybercrime Act. Journalists are not safe. The civil society group are also under pressure. And of course, we've seen Showere in and out of court. What's all this about this Cybercrime Act?
The Cybercrime Act is a thief in the night.
How do you mean?
It's a thief in the night because it was a law that was passed without the consciousness of the people of Nigeria, because it is an act that is used as a tool to checkmate the constitutional rights of Nigerians under Section 39 of the Constitution of Nigeria. That act is an aberration. It's even a slap to Section 37, which gives you the right of privacy and family life. It's a slap to Section 39 of the 1999 Constitution, which gives you the freedom to expression, the freedom to press, the freedom to your own thoughts. The truth is this: that act needs to be folded and thrown into the dustbin. Why I said this is not far-fetched. It has vague provisions. Things like cyberstalking, cyberbullying are not defined. You can, as a matter of fact, impute any interpretation to what cyberbullying can be, what cyberstalking can be. That's the truth. Also, it will interest you to know that the ECOWAS court has even ruled that 2024 Cyber Act is not in line with international human rights provisions. And the truth is this: it gives the security agencies unfettered powers. Without court order now, they could intercept your conversation. Previously, you cannot do that without a valid court order. They have given them unfettered power to currently have data retention because previously network providers have a limited period for data retention, but now they have a whole longer period of time to keep data of communications of private individuals like yourself and myself. And this raises serious question on your rights under section 37 of the 1999 Constitution. Your right to privacy, your life to private life and family. That right currently is just a right on paper. With the innovations and the passing of this Cybercrime Act, the provisions that have been smuggled inside it, that a lot of persons were there at the National Assembly when these laws were being passed, they were sleeping. You know, like I told you, it's just like a rubber stamp National Assembly. Just pass the first reading, second reading, committee stage, third reading, and it's gone. Nobody does what we call critical assessment of all provisions of laws anymore in Nigeria. That's one we are talking about now. That don't worry, they are sitting every day, they are doing this, they are doing that, they are. Forget about it. It was in the past when we had vibrant members of the National Assembly who wants to make a name for themselves, who remember that their villagers sponsored them to come out and come and represent them at the National Assembly. Back then we had ferocious comrades that were not scared of the executive arm of government, persons that were ready to commence removal proceedings and remove the president from power if he oversteps his boundary. Back then we used to have ferocious leaders that even the president from 2011 to 2015 was almost removed from power because the 1/3 of the National Assembly, in accordance with section 143, had already commenced removal proceedings, if not for the timely intervention, political intervention and pleading of the then Senate President David Mark. The president, we would have had a president in this country that was removed. And I'm happy with it because it means that our democracy is healthy. It means that one man cannot hold the entire country to ransom. It means that one man doesn't have absolute power because absolute power corrupts absolutely. It is a wake-up call that we should call our National Assembly, all the persons representing us in Parliament, and tell them with a matter of urgency the urgent need to call for the repealing of the Cybercrime Act 2024 because it is a direct slap to the provisions of our 1999 Constitution, which by virtue of section 1 subsection 1 is the ground norm of the country. It is also a call to the courts. The judicial arm of government has a duty to ensure that the 1999 Constitution is not in any way breached by any form of enactment which is inconsistent with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution. It is a wake-up call for even Mr. President himself that, Mr. President, you have always claimed to be a product of struggle, to be a product of democracy, to be a product of free speech. You, at this point, is currently the one who is about to leave a provision of law, an instrument that is going to impede against free speech, impede against the constitutional rights of every person, and impede against right to free and fair democracy. The charges against Chore has never been seen in this country. He has numerous charges. And looking at all of these charges are, in my opinion, frivolous. Now, why did I say they are frivolous? They are frivolous because the charges against Sowore is not against the state. All the alleged offenses are not offenses against the state. They are offenses against certain individuals that he has called out, exercising his right to freedom of expression. He has called them out, and he has even said it time without number that sue me for defamation. I will come out and justify why these statements were made, because I have my facts. I have all the records that I need to present to a real court of justice, not compromised court of justice. A real court of justice sitting with an unbiased mind, analyzing all the key evidence that will be produced before them, would actually agree with him that yes, this is actually not a speculation, this is facts. Because when I call you on TV and say you are a man who has white beards, the day I saw you, you were a man and you had white beards. If I eventually come and sue me that I have defamed you, and I have a photograph of me and you in the studio right now, and I present it to court and say, my lord, this is my friend here, he is a man and he has white beards. Because we say yes, this statement, even though you might not have loved the fact that he made the statement, is justified because he did not in any way say what was far from the truth. Now, you, instead of going through the normal procedure to sue him for civil defamation, you now looked at those provisions of the criminal and penal code that is very, 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 very limited. Also, you have gone through the Cybercrime Act that has very, 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 very limited provisions as to anything that has to do with defamation or cyber bullying or stalking, and expanded it now to bring charges against him. The reason why persons would rather apply criminal litigation rather than civil litigation is so as to bring on the weight of the law. Because the moment you are being charged in criminal litigation, you are going to be first of all be undergoing criminal charges, which means that you are not just a person who is free. You are going to be on bail. Either it's bail on self-recognition or whatsoever. It means that your liberty has in a way been restricted and limited. You can no longer choose to attend court if you want to attend court or not. Your lawyer cannot just represent you the way he can represent you in civil litigation. So in a great way, they have used this as a tool to try to gag journalists. And the fear of being arraigned in court is one thing that a lot of persons are very scared of. Someone like Sowore is not even scared of anything. You know one thing that is very key, speaking out, even if nothing will be done, but speaking out is very, very important.
We'll come to the economy. Let's stick to the issue of the civic space. Can we relate what is happening to Nnamdi Kanu with what is happening with this Cybercrime Act? And what exactly, like you made reference that the charges against Sowore are frivolous. Some persons have also alluded to the fact that there are really no serious charges against Nnamdi Kanu. What is your take on that?
Yes, my unbiased opinion about the terrorism charges against Nnamdi Kanu is that they are also a witch hunting charge. Why I said so is because when you look at the ingredients of the offense of terrorism, you must be able to establish a direct connection between the alleged offense and the alleged offender. Currently, there is not even a single piece of material evidence connecting whatsoever that is happening in the southeastern Nigeria with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as we speak. And even before now, that they are alleging that he made some communications that may have indirectly or directly influenced some activities in the southeast, are all unproved. They are all tainted with a lot of speculations. Now, let me give you an example of how the law works. If you are alleging that Mr. A killed Mr. B, you have to present how Mr. A killed Mr. B. You have to bring up the real evidence used by Mr. A to kill Mr. B. Either it's a gun, either it's a knife, whatsoever it is, you have to bring it. You cannot just speak and say it has happened and then we should all agree that it has happened. No. I am being factual in law now. This is our practice and procedure. This is also part of the evidence law of Nigeria. If you are saying that Mr. B had indeed died, it's either you bring the corpse of Mr. B or you bring a certification to show that Mr. B had indeed died. Now, let's go to the offense of terrorism, which Nnamdi Kanu is starting for. Before Mazi Nnamdi Kanu started agitating for the freedom and the equal rights and treatment of the Igbos, in 1966, Ojukwu commenced that struggle, which 1967 to 1970, we saw a dark period in Nigeria, which nobody is happy about or is happy to remember of. However, just some years down the line, the Igbos were being killed, the Igbos were being marginalized, the Igbos were being oppressed in the country, not just the Igbos alone, even the Yorubas and the Hausas in some other parts of the states in Nigeria were also being killed, were also being marginalized. However, the one that was looking more outspoken, more clear, was the one that has to do with what? The Igbos. Now, the Igbos came out and started agitating. As a reasonable head of state or as a reasonable head of the executive arm of government, what were you supposed to do if you had common sense as a president then? You would have just called these people to a round table meeting and dialogue with them and understand the pain in their hearts. The truth is this: a woman who is saying, I want to divorce my husband, I want to divorce my husband, please sue my husband, I want you to file a petition for dissolution of marriage, might not really want a dissolving marriage. It is just a gimmick to bring her husband to dialogue with her, so as to get maybe better treatment or better welfare. I strongly believe a lot of persons who are saying today that they want to break off from Nigeria, a lot of them, if given the real opportunity to really say their mind, they don't really want to separate from the country, but they want a country that is not just for one particular side or a tribe. They want a country that is inclusive. They want a constitution that properly defines the rights and obligations of collective Nigeria and not just a particular sector. They want a particular constitution that would not be in any way discriminating against them. The Igbos have time again said it, that they are being discriminated against in the country. And as the president, the only thing you could do was to try to muzzle them. Of course, that doesn't work. If you call for a referendum, you have to first of all amend section 1, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution. Because you cannot call for a referendum without amending the provisions of that section, which says that Nigeria shall be one indivisible state. So by the time you now amend it, you give the people the free will to vote. Don't be surprised. Just like Brexit, we had a close call. Some person said they wanted to leave, some people said they wanted to go. However, the people that wanted to actually stay, the Britons that wanted to stay with the EU, was close to 49%, very close. Now, if we are to have this kind of democratic system in Nigeria, where people are called to come and speak up their mind in the eastern part of the country, don't be surprised that the elites and even those that they would also influence will vote to stay. That will solve the problem of what? Of separation. Then you now address other key issues. What happened to Governor Sim Fubara is an example of what we call absolute power vested in the what? Federal government. The governor of a state was never removed. That's one they said for 6 months that he was not the governor or he was not the one operating River State. Is because he did not have the muscle to go and take back his office. There is no provision in law. In fact, it is even going to be an aberration if you people, journalists, should make a declaration that he was removed for 6 months. He was never removed. The proclamation of Mr. President is tantamount to an offense. That declaration that was also legitimized by the National Assembly was legitimizing an offense. Are you aware that it is a treasonable offense to declare the seats of the president, vice president, governor, or deputy governor vacant without following the due process of law, either by virtue of section 143 or section 188 as it relates to removal of either the president or the governor? The president, if not because of the fact that he has immunity under section 308 of the 1999 constitution, he would ordinarily have been subjected to treason charges, because what he did in Rivers State is a treasonable offense. And that is the reason why I said that if Governor Sim Fubara had his own military might in Rivers State, the sole administrator wouldn't even see the light of the day there. It is going to be a war. The governor will sit down in his power. If you want to declare state of emergency in accordance with section 305, you have the right to actually declare a state of emergency. You have the right to bring in military support to support me, not to say they are taking over my seat. They are coming to support me because I am overwhelmed. That is what the constitution presumes. The constitution presumes that the governor has become overwhelmed. The current state security personnel he has are not sufficient for him to contain insurgency or emergency, either by natural disaster or by human intervention. Then the president steps into what? To reinforce the security he has, not to come and sit on his throne. A democratically elected leader cannot be charged for any offense in Nigeria. Governor Sim Fubara, if he had had a face-off with the sole administrator will be charged to court in a same country, not this one we are operating nonsense democracy, in a same country that has real democracy. That sole administrator, if he had had a face-off with the governor, will be charged for treason, for even trying to lay a finger on the governor. But the governor was gagged. The governor was muzzled under the table, and even came back and was applauding Mr. President. Automatically, he has even legitimized the aberration that was done on him by even thanking Mr. Who are you thanking? That is why I don't blame women for saying that it's like women have more balls in Nigeria today, because look at Senator Natasha. She never apologized for anything. She never thanked anybody. After the period of the suspension, which of course I feel that our own case is quite different, because under the Senate rules, they can discipline her. Okay?
Not that long.
Yes. So, but the one that is even, in fact, if the justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, the late justices, those ones that we know that they were the one that helped us today to have certain things that we are enjoying, if not because of the ruggedity of our past Supreme Court judges, that were very rugged. They took no nonsense. When President Olusegun Obasanjo declared the office of the Vice President vacant, in the case of Attorney General of Federation versus Atiku 2007, the Supreme Court held, without any form of fear, that you cannot, whether directly or indirectly, declare the office of the Vice President vacant. You don't have that power. That is the same thing that just happened this year in this country. And everybody kept quiet. Even the judiciary, who I am a member of as a part of the bar, I felt so bad that this matter could not be expeditiously heard and determined, at least to save the sanity of our what? Of our democracy and constitution. This matter was just left hanging and have finally been turned to academic and swept under the carpet. Now tell me how posterity wants to judge each and every one of us, especially within my own profession. Honestly speaking, I feel so bad that things that should be taken very seriously, because when you keep allowing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to go away with a lot of things, you are giving him what we call absolute power. The judicial arm of government, who by virtue of section 6 ought to ensure that the constitution is being upheld to the highest level, is now keeping quiet because of procedural defect and what have you, which of course we all know that a former chief justice of Nigeria has stated that we have left the time of technicalities and now we are now in the time of substantive justice. Even the great Oputa, as stated in the case of Adekoke Motors against Adesanya and others, that we are final, not because we are infallible, rather we are infallible because we are final. The justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria are human beings capable of erring. It will be short-sighted arrogance not to accept this obvious truth. That is the words of Justice Oputa of blessed memory. Honestly speaking, I am using this as a conscious and professional call that I believe we, the judicial arm of government, have a whole lot of role to play in ensuring that our democracy in Nigeria is not one that is run by one man. Honestly speaking, the rule of law is preferably than the rule of man. Because as we are in Nigeria, it is as if we are experiencing the rule of man and not the rule of law.
How would you assess the judiciary in the light of all that you have said?
The judiciary is like a machine. When you come to the court, it's garbage in, garbage out. I will not agree with the entire submission that the judiciary of Nigeria is corrupt. No. The NJC, National Judicial Council, have been trying their best to sift out the bad eggs among them. But there's a need to do more. There's a need to do more in the sense that there's a need to address national issues that come before the court. For example, the issue of River State was a very, very, very key national issue that should have been trashed out without any form of delay. Honestly speaking, yes, it is presumed that judges don't watch TV. That's the presumption, that they don't even know what's happening in the country. It's not their business. Whenever any case comes in court, they treat it dispassionately, without any form of knowledge of how or what is happening. It is whatever you bring to them that is presumed to be in their knowledge. However, let's not also pretend that they are also human beings like us. They are also in the same country as we are. They are also aware that this is currently the current trend that is happening. Because it is a disappointment in the judiciary that they failed to expeditiously hear the River State case. Because it is a case that should have been determined. However, I now spoke about the disciplining of some judges. That, yes, I am aware, the records are there. NJC has disciplined quite a number of judicial officers. Now, that is the applaud. I was applauding them that, yes, but they should what? They should do more. Do more in what sense? Do more in making sure that justice is not just done, but it's also what? Seen to be done. Let the blind be able to see that truly justice is being done, even if they are blind. And let the deaf hear that justice is being done, even if they are deaf. That is why it is very, very crucial to note that collectively, if you talk about collectively, the federal judiciary needs to wake up. The state judiciary also what? Needs to wake up. The fact that executive arm of government is now becoming too close to the judiciary is a thing to be worried about. It's a thing that the whole Nigeria needs to wake up. Because the code of conduct for judicial officers do not even allow judicial officers to be members of political party ab initio. You cannot be a member of associations and political party. Your membership of association is highly limited. It's highly limited. Maybe association of your family is a different thing, but not becoming a public association key member.
Officers attending launchings.
That is why I said it is a thing to be worried about, because it's an aberration to the practice and procedure of judicial officers and judicial conduct. This is very wrong. It should never, ever, ever be seen, talk less of be heard of. It is very wrong that in a country like today, judicial officers have become best friends with politicians. My brother, even if the case that is brought before that judicial officer was one on merit, the court of public opinion will not still be wrong to indirectly or directly infer that there have been traces of corruption and compromise, there is a need for the Chief Justice of Nigeria to call an emergency meeting of judiciary. They need to call an emergency meeting of the 36 chief judge of all the states, so that they can go back to state level and even those at the federal level, and they have this deep-rooted discussion on separating the judicial officers from the executive arm of government, because that relationship is not one that is good for a healthy democracy. That relationship is not one that is good for presumption of what? Presumption of regularity in terms of following the code of conduct for judicial officers. That relationship is one that is of calamity. That relationship is one that is tainted with biasness. Presumption of justice is killed automatically the moment the judicial arm of government and the executive arm of government is seen to be what? To be rubbing hands together, because it's presumed that as they are rubbing hands together, something is what? Is being exchanged.
All right, let's go to President Tinubu's comments, left, right, and center, about the economy rebounding, that their reforms have turned around so many things, including almost meeting the revenue projection in almost by the third quarter. What's their take? And things are where the worst is over.
Mr. President's assessment is not the assessment of Nigeria. My brother, please go to Gwagwalada, go to Kuje, go and price just a cup of rice in the market there. Those are people that are expected to even be farmers that at least have some level of high production of, food first-hand received. They cannot afford just one meal. They cannot afford. The so-called 70,000 naira minimum wage is grossly inadequate to feed a grown man, just one grown man in a week. It cannot feed a grown man in a week. 3 square meal a day. If you don't spend 15 to 20,000 naira to eat like a woman being, not to eat like a rat, the way rats will look for just one thing and munch on it and go. No, to eat as a woman being. My brother, without mincing words, Nigeria is close to doom. Our economy on paper looks like it is good. My brother, leave paper, come to practical. Go there, go to the market, go there, go and interview people. Ask people, have you eaten today? They tell you that, my brother, I just have 1,000 naira. I cannot buy food. I'll just buy gala. Gala is even how much now? I think gala should be 300 naira or 200 naira now. They just buy gala and look for pure water. Sachet pure water, ordinary sachet pure water. Now is nothing less than 50 naira. Water. That is to show you that the economy of Nigeria is in total shambles. It has never been this worst. And Mr. President has the answer to it. However, he has sworn that nothing in him, in his life, would make him reverse the economy of Nigeria. When he said that, you see, subsidy, no going back. That statement means that Mr. President had already made up his mind that even if heaven will fall, even if his creator wants to call him, let him call him. But you see, that subsidy will never ever bring it back. The subsidy we are saying you have removed. You said you are removing it because you wanted to use the money for infrastructural development. Please, my brother, where is the infrastructure? Where is the development? Are we not borrowing? Is the country not borrowing money? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said to Nigerians, I want to stop paying partly for the fuel that I am giving to you people. The money that is being used to pay for fuel, what I want to do now is that I want to build schools for you people. I want to give you guys better security. I want to build the economy of Nigeria. Now we are telling Mr. President, take your school, take your road, take your incentive, that palliative you are giving to me, take it, I don't want. Mr. President, put the money back in paying partly for the fuel that you are claiming that should be sold for 1,000 naira per litre or 900 or 800 per litre, we no longer want. Put that money back in that petrol. Be paying partly be paying for petrol for us, so that we can even breathe. Because before you came on board, you were telling your predecessor, let the poor breathe. However, you came on board and suffocated us times 100.
This man just stated the gospel to what is happening in Nigeria, and it have raised so many reactions. Like someone said, if Tinubu had not removed Fubara would have sent Wike and his boys packing. But the gospel truth is that this government spots the threat and then they remove the threat, because there is no clear reason why they removed Fubara from being the governor of Rivers State, if not because they saw him as a threat for the next election rigging. So now they removed him and then threatened him. Now he's back, and you think that Fubara is going to be the same? The answer is no, because there must be some terms and conditions that must have been met before Fubara is brought back into the system. So this is the question of what is happening in Nigeria today, because even the current INEC chairman was appointed by Tinubu government, and then what makes you think that the next election he will not work for the person that put him in office? This is the question that matters. This is the question we need to be asking ourselves, that we need to wake up, because right now even the House of Assembly don't even care about the masses. They don't care about the law. They don't care about even the amendment of the constitution, because we are shouting that we need electoral reform, which will be done by the same people working for Tinubu, so they can reform the electoral process to favor them. So Nigeria, we're in a big problem, because right now we're in a big problem. Right now, APC is everywhere. When I mean everywhere, I mean APC is now in every angle and corner of Nigeria, where it will be very hard to defeat them in the next election, no matter how you try. Why did I say so? Because APC is in judiciary, they are in INEC, they are in House of Assembly, House of Rep, everywhere. Take a look at how Ababio is just working against constitution just to favor the APC. This is to tell us everybody today in power have been APCified. That means they are working for this current APC government. So it will be very hard to remove them in office. But let me get your own views in the comment section as you air your view. Don't forget to subscribe and send our video, share our video to your friends to know the happenings in Nigeria. I'll see you guys in my next video.